Well, hello. I want to welcome you to my live stream with Mr. Pier Gustafson. He's in the chat. Oh, and apparently lost the link. So I'll send him the link here. Let me figure out how, because I've never had to do this before. I think I just posted as a comment. There we go. I'll have to hide that. We don't want lots of people showing up here in the chat. Just to give him some incentive, I had an AI experiment with making a title screen for this video, and that's what AI came up with. And clearly I was not going to use it because that's not Mr. Pier Gustafson. I don't know why it did that. But anyway, he should be here soon because, like I said, he's in the chat. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I experimented with this one was a little better. I'm going to be interviewing a cowboy in a couple of weeks, and so I had it come up with a screen for him. I'm not sure why it has a countdown on it, but anyway, it's not him either, but it's generic enough it would work. But yeah, so we're just waiting on Pier to get his technology in order on his end, and hopefully everybody hears me. I see we have a lot of people we know. We have Miss Marilyn Darling here, Cesar Chavaria, Stefan Finan is here. Let's see, Juicy Louisi is here, and let's see, Dean from Adelaide is here, and let's see who else is here. TJ Archivist, and we're up to 18 people watching. And, I missed somebody. Christopher McKellar is here. So glad to have everybody here. I'm hoping to talk about art and fountain pens. I'm curious about his the way he works. I've seen him in person do the work, so I'm just curious to hear his philosophy on it when he gets logged in. I wasn't ready with lots of banter at the beginning. So, excuse me. So I'm getting over this cold. Part of why you didn't see videos from me this week. But anyway, Pier Gustafson lives in Massachusetts. He's says try sending again. Let's see if that works. I'm sorry, technical issues, I think. I'm going to be really sad if we can't make this work. But anyway, Pier Gustafson is a fountain pen guy. He likes vintage fountain pens, which definitely puts him high in my rankings. He uses them a lot for art. He uses them more for art than he does for writing. He's also a very good calligrapher. I've seen some of his calligraphy work. Excuse me. We had Miss Marilyn Darling on here over the summer. Talked a little bit about calligraphy there, so I'm hoping we can talk some more about calligraphy. Pier says he's not sure what's wrong. Let's see. Let's try a different link. I wonder if I don't know what I'm sharing, honestly. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Guests. No band guests. Okay. That's not working. I swear I've done this before. I just don't know why it's not. Ooh, here's a present or invite. Let's try invite guest. Oh, yeah, and this is a different link. So let me briefly put this up on. I feel very awkward doing this in the chat, but I don't know what else is going on. So let's try this link. Meanwhile, Louis Hello is here. Cesar apparently received a link. I'm not sure what's going on there. We have Westport, Connecticut here. Anyway, we're up to 24 people, and we're just missing our guest of honor. Pier Gustafson is also the man behind the world famous Pier Gustafson test. So anybody who has watched my pen videos has seen the world famous Pier Gustafson test, and that is from him. Hey, he's here. Let's get him on screen.
Hello.
Hello. All right, I'm glad that finally worked. I don't know what I was doing before.
It was you. It might have been the wrong link you sent me, and it sent me. It didn't work. Now this is my phone I'm using, so I'm gonna sign off and sign on using my iPad.
Okay.
How I normally do it. So I'll be right back.
All right.
Kick me out of this thing. Just delete me from.
All right, you are removed. Okay, so we'll add him up later. Hopefully real quick here. We'll just put his title screen up in his honor. So for those wow. For those of you who weren't here earlier, that is what AI came up with as a title for this live stream. So don't trust AI. Anyway, he will be back real soon. And yeah, it's putting it in the chat, which isn't really what I wanted, which is why I'm erasing it right away. Okay, I think I see him again. Nope, he just disappeared again. All right, well, anyway, it wouldn't be one of my videos without some kind of a technical problem. I love it when it starts out this way, right? Sorry, he says sarcastically. But anyway, the world famous Pier Gustafson test. Oh, he wants me to send the link again. So we'll do it this way and then erase it again. Because it's not a good idea to put the link in the chat. But anyway, the world famous Pier Gustafson test was all about, he had this hypothesis that modern pens just can't keep up with the ink flow the way the vintage pens can. And so that was a way to test it. And by doing he doesn't do writing, so it was rapid drawing. He tends to do, on his channel, if you watch, it's very little actual writing. It's almost always drawing or sketching, sometimes just random sketching, just watching the ink flow and whatever. So that's kind of what he does. To me, the fountain pen is more a tool for writing. And if I lose my voice during this, I apologize. I have got a day or two off, and of course I got sick, because that's how it goes. So I've been doing a lot of coughing, and what would not have made very good YouTube. Oh, he's back. I think he's back now.
I am back. Hello.
Hello.
We'll try. For some reason, my iPad wants me to enter using Chrome, and my iPad has Safari. So you're going to have to deal with me using my phone.
Okay.
So I like your red complexion. You've been in the in the Caribbean when.
I'm blaming this, but if I move closer to the window, it changes. So yeah, something about this camera, I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for allowing me to join your thing. And it is funny that AI thought I looked like a distinguished historian rather than whatever I look like. So I'm ready for your questions, Mr. Senator.
Okay. Well, I think I was telling everybody while we were going through all that, I am curious about your use of fountain pens as art tools. Especially now that we're in an era where AI is doing some art. Well, we'll put it in air quotes because it's not.
Put as many air quotes. AI, when used by actual stupidity comes up with really bad results.
Yeah.
If you have a smart person explain what you want with enough details, I think it can do a better job. I did see many of the things that you did, Wasky. You posted somewhere about, I think they were things that you did based on the Dune novel. I think
Yeah,
wasn't didn't you do
I
that?
think so.
And they were very good to the degree that uh, they made things look correct and real, except when it comes to perspective and how shadows work and things like that, then things sometimes get fuzzy. So anyway, uh, but I thought I looked pretty good in a bow tie there and glasses and
Yeah.
so anyway, yeah, there I am. Look at me. I look like I should be teaching at Harvard.
Yeah.
Now you can take him away, and people can
Okay.
see my actual uh, uh, face. So yes, pens as tools, and um, the toolier, the better. Pens that are plain black, no decoration, they're just a nib and a holder, are the ones that uh, work best for me when I use a pen that looks really pretty, some Waterman filigree thing. I get distracted by shiny things, and I start looking looking at the pen and admiring its beauty instead of trying to make a drawing or whatever I'm doing. So,
Okay.
uh,
Now I met you. You were traveling, so of course you didn't have your full array of tools. But I was just curious. Do you mostly work in one color of ink, or?
I'm a one color ink kind of guy. I black on white paper, black ink on white paper offers the most contrast possible. You know, red is not black, blue is not black. So you get the full range of value possibilities using black.
Okay. I know there's an artist I follow on Instagram. He's Russian and he does still lifes of different places around where he lives. And he'll often do, he uses different colors ink. So he'll do a whole drawing in red, for example, or a
Yeah.
winter scene he'll do in blue. So,
I can draw in black and white in any color as
mhm.
well. It's just and often I can easily imagine what it would look like if it was black and white. Um, Often the artwork I'm doing for other people is ending up being scanned in and turned into black and white anyway. Their
Oh,
and
sure.
their printer, if they want this design in blue, I tell them you and the printer pick the color blue at your end. I'm not going to be part of that conversation. And blue ink on white paper is one color. Blue, that same blue ink on a cream color paper is a different color. So I'm not. I don't want to be part of that. I'll let them.
Right.
I'll let them duke it out. So
So you mostly do the drawing itself without worrying what it's going to be on as a final product.
I normally don't. If I know that it's just me doing the drawing and it's going to be printed exactly the way I hand it over, I use black ink usually because it's normally when I would do illustrations for Pen World magazine or something, I would it would be printed in black and white. They didn't want to waste a color page on me.
Okay.
So I do have some drawings I did. There were some things I wanted to mention about sketching and drawing, and I have some examples of things I can show you those while you're coming up with another question. Unless you want to give me another question now.
No, I actually would be interested to see it. And while you're getting them, I was thinking about, I know, like I said, I've seen you work. I know you do a lot of work in very rapid strokes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I was curious. I grew up with my mother, who's also an artist, and she's always very meticulous and careful.
Yeah.
Very different style from how you work.
Well, I can be both. And often I'm going to switch the camera here if I can figure out how to do that without blowing it up.
Okay.
Back the camera. Okay. And again, I'm using my phone. Okay. I think I'm in focus.
Yeah, it looks like it's in focus.
So one of the things that I did once upon a time was I was trying to design a book plate for myself. And I would do these drawings in these sketchbooks. And I pick up a sketchbook, and I usually have 10 of them out on the table somewhere, and I'll grab whatever one is closest, and I'll open up a page to whatever page is there. Rarely do I keep only one sketchbook going. It was always just random. So I can look through a sketchbook, and I'll see jobs from 10 years ago and a job from 20 years ago. But this particular sketchbook I used mainly for these few jobs that had to do with designing a coat of arms. And so I draw with pen and ink on paper. Here I had red ink in one pen and black ink in another. And I'll just doodle and turn the page over, draw again, and the page will have, a dozen ideas in it. Then I'll refine it, and I'll show you what it ends up looking like. Except, where are they? Oh, for God's sake, Wesky!
I'm just thinking of quite a parallel.
Right here.
I use notebooks too, but mine aren't full of sketches. They're full of written ideas.
And you start with page 1 and you go to page 2, right?
Yeah.
And then when that's done, you go to page 3. I bet you go to page 3 after that.
I do.
That's not what I do.
Oh.
Anyway, so one of the coats of arms I came up with was this idea. So it's and I wanted this coat of arms to be, or book plate to be, half in pencil and half in pen and ink. So, and it was, pencil, pen, pen, pencil, pen, pencil, pencil, pen. It counterchanged. It went back and forth between the two halves. And so this is the design, 2 pen nibs. I love origami. So there's these origami shapes and 2 drafting set dividers, and one with the pen tip on it and one with the pencil tip on it. And then the word yes and the word no is my motto, because I can never make up my mind. So anyway, so these were printed about this size as a book plate. Another idea that I came up with was the 2 pen nibs as the coat of arms, and then the squid with the ink and the pen in its 2 of its hands. So, and these were, very clearly, very detail oriented, done. Mm-hmm. Very unlike how I sketch. Sketches are messy. I'm trying to work out ideas, work out how is this thing going to work, and I'm very messy. I don't care what it looks like because I'm the only one looking at it. It's kind of like maybe how some people keep a diary. Mm-hmm. They don't. This is not for publication. They might just cross something out or spell something wrong, and they can read it. They don't care. So there's an honesty with sketches that by the time you get to this, all of the truth has been distilled and diluted to become something that's more perfect, I guess.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that answered any of your questions. If you
No,
had.
it does. It's like I use my notebooks. I capture ideas, and then they're there.
Yep.
And maybe I'm not using it right now. Maybe I'm refining the idea. Maybe I say, well, that was stupid. And then kind of refine it into something.
Yeah. There's something so nice. I loved looking at drawings of famous artists and artists. I like seeing where their mind was. I can understand a drawing really, really well. Where the painting, again, their ideas are sometimes hidden by all of the talent they have, and all of the color and all of the finish. That when you see a drawing of it, a sketch of it, you see really what the artist thought was important, and you'll see where they erased something and tried something else. And that is so much more interesting to me than seeing the finished piece.
Okay. So kind of like the, I'm trying to remember his name, Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks published.
Yep. I got an ad. I think I might have sent you the link to it. It was a company that was reprinting the manuscripts of books. So you actually got to see Bleak House written in Dickens's handwriting. You see the cross out lines. You see what he changed a word to, and they created a book out of the manuscript, and it was really fascinating to see the changes that the author was making. And if I didn't send it to you, I'll try to find that link. I think you'd like to see it. Whether I don't know whether you'd want to read Bleak House in Charles Dickens's handwriting. But even if it was typewritten, when you see a typewritten thing with something crossed out and handwritten new word added, you see how their brain worked.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me, I think. So who's asking questions? Anyone in the room?
Well, right now, Miss Marilyn Darling is.
What is she saying? I can't. I'm using my phone, and I can't read what she wrote.
Okay,
so
I'll read it to you. So, Pier, tell us about the world famous Pier Gustafson test again.
Oh, okay. The world famous Pier Gustafson test is a test that I devised to find out if modern fountain pens had a good enough ink flow. And so I would say, well, Wasky or anyone, take a pen and write with it really, really fast. And if it starts to skip, that fails the Pier Gustafson test. I want the line to continue to flow without it skipping. And I think 20 years ago, modern fountain pens, 20 years ago, it was Parker and Schaefer and Waterman. And those pens were horrible at keeping up. And they were perfectly good pen companies, but their ink flow was so stingy that they skipped all the time. I think now pen companies are understanding that they have to make these things better.
Yeah.
And I've never seen any of your pens fail.
Yeah, not very often. I have occasionally it happens, but yeah, I think probably was it 20 years ago, maybe a little more than that. They started using plastic feeds too.
Yeah.
Whereas they've always been ebonite.
Well, ebonite works better than plastic, certainly, but I don't know. I think that the main thing is the channel, the ink channel with vintage pens anyway, was much wider, so the ink would flow so much better. Back with pens as tools, I could draw with this pen, beautiful Waterman Sterling overlay pen, or I could draw with this pen, and this will not distract me. This, I'll just sit there and think, oh, how beautiful this is. But this is more of a workhorse of a pen. see it as beautiful, and I still love the warmth of the hard rubber, and the fading of it makes me smile. But this one is just so pretty that
Yeah,
that
I get that. That's why.
it's easy to be distracted. I mean, I'm sure you're very keen, Wasky, on, you call it the finish, the the plastic iridescent marbling and the modeling and this and stuff, and you just sink into the sea of the atmospheric illusion of depth that those plastics give you. And I imagine, I'm guessing, but I imagine every once in a while you're trying to come up with a nice word, and you're looking at the pen, you're rotating it like this, and then you completely forget about your story. You forget about dinner. You just sit there, look at that pen so long. Or am I not? Is that not true?
Maybe a little guilty of that. There's a reason this is my pen that I use the most. It's plain, it's black.
Yep.
And it does the job.
It does the job, yes. Get a pen that works well in your hand, does what you need it to do, and you'll get the job done. If it's a different pen that has a beautiful nib that you just want to make curly Q lines with. If I was an actual author and was seduced by a flexible nib and used that all the time, I would end every word with an ly.
Yeah.
Every word would be a adjective. Every sentence would contain a bunch of adverbs.
When I got my first flex nib, that's kind of what I did. A lot of flexing everywhere I could.
A lot of lys. Lying. Mr. Gustafson, this novel is great, except you use way too many gerunds. Is that gerund is the ing?
I think so.
And way too many adverbs. Use more nouns. Nouns, Pier. Nouns. You need some more nouns.
Well, I got a question here from Dan Cruz. He says, Pier, how do you see expressionism in relation to the finished work? And then he says, do you try to maintain the freshness of the sketch in the final product?
It is so hard to keep things fresh in the end, especially if you're dealing with a client. Every time a client tells me something, they're killing the result a little bit at a time. I either have to make it easier to understand, or easier to read, or easier to do something. And every time that happens, something goes wrong. Let me show you some drawings I did for Pen World magazine. So I just have to pick one. I did a series, a bunch of drawings of the Skyline pen, which is this. And it was a little article I wrote that spoke about using heat to loosen a pen, and the pen burst into flames. And I made it like the Hindenburg explosion. So Skyliner explodes. And here's the Skyline being brought to the Bunsen burner. And it bursts into flames and crashes down. And that's the wreckage of the Skyliner. But the original drawings, ideas that came up for this, were much more interesting. I got the idea across with fewer lines, quicker lines, and I thought it worked. This is more interesting to look at than that. And so I think there's things that are lost in trying to make things more clear.
Right.
And You know, you want your mashed potatoes to have lumps in them. You know, don't you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I can't stand the instant ones. So
So yes, okay. So, but the idea of having, you know, when you completely mash them so there isn't a lump, you probably are killing so many good things. I don't know what happened. I don't know how potatoes work, but you're probably making it taste a lot less good by abusing it for so long. Um, so, any other question? Did I answer that question? Whoever it was.
Dan Cruz, he hasn't said anything else.
Well, Dan, watch my channel too, because I can sometimes wax a little more poetic or a little better when I can think about it a little bit longer. Sometimes answering quickly, you do get a more honest answer, but it may not be as clear as it could be.
Yeah, I know with my job, I'm put on the spot daily and gotta come up with it just like that.
Mr. Squirrel, I have a question. So, how many degrees is that in centigrade? Is this going to be on the test, Mr. Squirrel?
Oh, that's a favorite one of theirs.
Yes.
And then you can't be sarcastic and say, "No, I'm just teaching this for fun."
You can't say that. No, you can't, because they'll run home and tell their parents, and the parents will talk to the principal, and you'll be brought into the office, and your vacation days have been. You'll be cleaning the erasers and doing whatever we used to have to do when we were kids. Are you able to make children work these days in school? Do you make people stay after school?
Jobs. I have them. I have a lab, so they have to clean up after we do labs. Otherwise, it would be a circus in there.
Yeah, good.
If you give a kid detention, it's nice to say, "Hey, you're going to clean glassware here."
Okay.
Oh, we did get some more from Dan Cruz. Such beautiful drawings, very powerful and ambitious. Thanks.
Yeah, these days, I used to, back before I got an iPad to draw on, I would always carry a sketchbook with me, and I'd always traumatize about which 4 or 5 pens I would put in my pocket. And I would spend a half hour deciding which 5 pens were going to go in my pocket. And then when I would get to the bar, usually where I was going to sit down and have some beers and eat dinner and come up with things in my sketchbook, I'd say, okay, which pen am I going to use now? And that was another trauma. So these days, when I go to Minneapolis, I only bring a dozen pens with me. And that makes it a lot easier than bringing 50 pens. And so these days I try to bring a pen. If I'm going to go to my usual bar that I go to, I usually bring a pen that looks kind of like this, a sterling overlay Waterman that looks like an antique, rather than a plain black one, which is equally old but doesn't look as antique-y. So I'll calligraph people's names, and they'll say, "Oh, woo, wow, that's so cool." And I'll say, "Well, this pen is 100 years old," and they would believe it. Mm-hmm. Whereas they might not believe it if it was a plain black one, but this one looks 100 years old. So I bring one of these for show and tell, and then I usually bring a Skyline, something with a nice rubbery nib that I can push around, flexible yet really, really sturdy. And then I might bring a 51 along, which will make me think of words. And it doesn't have a flexible nib, so I can't get distracted. So those are sort of my 3 go-to pens every time I leave the house.
Okay.
But if I'm fixing a pen for someone, or if I got a new pen at the pen show and I put a sack in it and I want to take that with me, chances are I'll say, gee, I really like these pens. And I'd go find 3 more, maybe different patterns, different sizes. And then I'd suddenly have 3 pens that I'm rediscovering. That's kind of fun. But, so Wasky, would you do your pens in use? Do you actually have only those 6 or 7 pens filled with ink, and those are the ones, in fact, that you do use during the week?
Yeah, I'm pretty honest when I do that. I don't like to have more than 8 inked up.
Okay.
Sometimes I do kind of behind the scenes because I did some pen reviews or something.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying out a pen, and I just haven't put it on the channel yet. But yeah, it's usually 8 or sometimes fewer. This week, if I wouldn't have gotten this cold, this week's pens in use would have been 6 pens because.
And you have all 6 with you at school and on your desk? Okay.
Not at school. So at school, I have 2 pens that are just laying there. They're pretty low cost pens, and I have bright ink in them for correcting papers.
Okay.
And then my Lamy 2000 goes back and forth with me from work to home.
And that's the one that's the what do they call it?
Yeah, workhorse or everyday carry or
everyday carry. It's like when the everyday carry people in the fountain pen Facebook group started showing handguns with their everyday carry. They'd have a picture of their Waterman or their Mont Blanc or whatever, and then they'd have this big Luger next to it. And I was shocked and very, very disgusted by it. And eventually the owner of the group banned the guns from being there, which I thought was a wise idea. But so you do have your everyday carry is the Lamy 2000.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pen that I owned one of when I bought my pen company. That was among the things that they had, and it was new at that time. And I didn't keep it, though I wish I had, because I really admire that pen a lot. I like everything about it. But it didn't have a flexible nib, and I didn't really want it in my life, so I sold it. But one day I might want to get another one.
Well, that brings I've got a question from an audience member, but that makes me think of a question. When you're doing your art, do you more often use the flexible nibs or the hard nibs? Or for use a
different depending on the mood I'm in. And normally if I'm doing a drawing, I'll use a flexible nib of some sort because I want to have the line variation. But it's really, really fun doing a drawing with a Parker 51. And maybe it's plans for a drawing. Again, I'm just working on the composition rather than the shading and everything else. I'm just working out the plan for it, the blueprint for the drawing. And sometimes having a pen that just makes lines without variation is good. Mm-hmm. Other times I'll use a pen that's very, very fine and maybe slightly flexible, and it's almost like it's in pencil. And I
kind of froze there. Well, he definitely froze. All right, so I am on my own for a little bit till he figures out what's going on.
What happened?
I don't know. You froze suddenly.
Oh yeah. Well, I everything went black at this end, so I think it's okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. There we go.
So anyway, so it depends. Usually, when I'm working on the actual finished drawing, it'll be a pen that does have flexibility to it. And I may need two pens, maybe one that goes from fine to the medium range, and the other one going from sort of a little broader than fine to a thicker range. So I have a full range between them. But if I have a pen that's full in just one nib, I might find it harder to control because it's so flexible. So, and I'd use that for calligraphy, but I wouldn't use that for drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I've got a question here and I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce this right because I don't speak French, but I think it's Louis Hello.
Okay. Louis Hello. Okay.
I'm kind of spitballing here. Spanish I can do, French not so much. So he says, Pier, what are your favorite vintage pens?
Oh, I see. It does look like hello. Hello. I think the H would be not pronounced. I have all my pens are vintage. All the pens in my collection, all 3,000 of them or so, are pre 1960 for the most part, and the ones that I use to draw with are usually from 1945 and earlier. Watermans and Wall Eversharps tend to be the ones that I'm always drawing with. And a Skyline, this pen right here, these are absolutely great. Their nibs are very rubbery. I feel I can sort of push them around. I don't have to worry about the kind of paper I'm using. They're robust. Whereas a Waterman has lovely nibs, but when they're fine and really fine and flexible, I feel if I hit a snag, I might damage the nib, and I have damaged the nib. So I use those kinds of nibs for calligraphy when I understand the paper really well, and I'll know not to take a wrong turn. With drawings, when I'm pushing things around all over the place, I need a pen that I know won't go wrong on me. Does that answer your question, Mr. Louis? Hello. Now there's two L's, but that wouldn't be like bouillabaisse, because it would just be a bunch of vowel sounds, HAILLEAU. So it'll just be, so I don't think that's right.
Yeah, I don't speak French, and who knows, maybe it's a totally Americanized name, like my last name, which is not how you pronounce it in Polish.
No.
But anyway, yeah, I think that answers it. That brings me a question, though. You've mentioned Parker 51.
Yep.
I was curious if you use any of the other Parker models for art.
I do have a lot of dual folds and vacuumatics, but dual fold nibs tended to be relatively firm, and vacuumatics were just a little fussier. And they're very pretty, so they're very easy to be distracted by. There's a guy that's trading me for other pens. He's trading me this lovely vacuumatic set, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work, and I don't fix these anymore, so it's just going to sit in my collection doing nothing. But there's something about the pen that's lovely, but I end up looking at those little striated lines, and an hour will go by, and my drawing still isn't done because I'm looking at it. So
that's true. It is a very pretty pen.
I do have some dual folds that do have flexible nibs, but I don't use them. They're just a little too big.
Hmm.
The senior size. The junior size is about right.
Yeah.
And I do have, every once in a while, I'll bring those out for a trip around the block or something, and I'll say, why don't I use these more often? And that's the fun thing about this. If I was fixing a duofold junior for someone.
Oh, I think Pier is frozen again. Must be cold there in Massachusetts.
Dual folds, and then I'll spend 3 hours trying to define which one that I want to use, and then I'll use it. And so I tend to go back to my standards: a wall ever sharp, whether it's a Skyline or a all metal pen or a Waterman, and whether it be black or sterling overlay. They tend to be my go-to ones. Even Watermans that look like this, they look sort of like a 51.
Mm-hmm.
These are great. Again, they don't draw attention to themselves, so I'm not distracted by them. But they have great nibs. They can have great nibs. Great to draw with. But they're not very pretty, so I'm not distracted by them.
Okay. Well, I have a question here from Dan Cruz. He wants to know what paper you use, if it's fountain pen friendly, and if you get feathering.
Well, here's a secret, Dan Cruz. One of my pen friends saw me at the Boston Pen Show a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Pierre, I don't understand how you can possibly have any pens left. I would think they'd all be sold because you're the only one that has good paper at this show." And what I use is old ledger paper from 1902. Really smooth, beautiful paper. I've got old ledger books that just tear out big clumps of sheets of these things, and it's so fountain pen friendly. There are other papers that are really good. Rhodia is good. Leuchtturm, whatever is good. The French paper, whose name I can't remember right now, that's very good. But it's not as good as this 100-year-old vintage or 150-year-old vintage ledger book paper. There's something really nice about it.
I just bought myself a hardbound ledger book, and I have been kind of scared to try it. But
is it new? Is it new?
Yeah,
or old?
it's
if
new.
If it's new, the paper probably will bleed. It may not be as nice as you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And their old ledger books can be crappy as well. Some can be very acidic paper and very brittle paper, but there's some that were really good quality paper. They were legal documents, ledgers being kept by companies. You couldn't fuss around with them, and the paper was really good quality. So
yeah, I was disappointed in college because I used fountain pens for years. We had lab notebooks we had to use for a couple of the courses I took, and the one type we used was very good with the fountain pens. The other one I had to switch to a ballpoint because
the paper was
so bad.
Yes. I know that there are some. I have in my collection of stuff here. I've got stacks and stacks of logarithmic Dietzen or K&E graph paper, and it was for scientific labs to compute their ups and downs with whatever they were doing, their experiments. And that paper is very, very smooth, and it doesn't bleed, and it's almost onion skin thinness, and it's really good paper. And I've got maybe a couple thousand sheets of it, And sometimes I bring that to the pen show to use, but it's still not. There's something about the thickness and the heaviness and the weight of this paper that's really nice.
Yeah, I have a ledger here. I'm working on a history, but it's a ledger. It was started back in 1912.
Yeah,
something like that. And yeah, it's interesting paper. The thing has been through the wars. I think it's not in great shape, but very nice paper. And you can tell, the first entries were done with dip pens, and then later on fountain pens, and then somewhere along the line they switched to
ballpoints. Yeah. I have a guest book that a friend of mine gave me. Did I ever play the dinner party game with you yet, Wasky?
The dinner party game?
Yeah, we can do it right now.
Is that the one where what would be 3 people you would invite?
The 8 people you'd invite. Yeah. So here, and they could be living and dead. So here's the guest book that someone gave me. Starts in 1909 and goes up to 1955. And this was a guest book in Switzerland, I think. So there's people from all over the world. Yeah, this is from someone from Schweiz in 1961, 1962, New York City, 1963 is the last person that signed this book. So what I do is I ask people what 6 or 8 people they would invite to a dinner party. And we don't have to play that today. We can do it another time. And it's just interesting what people say. And sometimes they're people they admire. Sometimes it's people that they think would be interesting to overhear the conversation of between Donald Trump and Otto von Bismarck, for example.
Yeah.
There was someone that invited Monica Lewinsky and Mrs. Clinton and don't tell me Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, and what's her name, Stormy Daniels. They wanted all 4 of them to be in the room. You could have also had then Jackie Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. Just find out.
Yeah.
How the food flies.
Well, I have a question here from. Oh, sorry, that cold is getting me again. Okay. I might mute my microphone for a second to cough. But Defco5 wants to know, if you journal or long form write, what do you write with?
I don't do either, but when I do have to come up with an idea that I want to turn into text that's going to be part of a article I might write or part of a book I might create, I'll use a Parker 51. Again, to focus my attention on the word, not what the word looks like, but what the word means, what the meaning of the word is. So it's again, the simplest handheld pen that gives me the cleanest, no nonsense way of making a word is a Parker 51. And because it's so plain looking. There are other nibs that are hard and will make a single line, like a Triumph nib pen. But when I have a Triumph nib pen in my hand, I'm looking at how cool that nib looks. And I've forgotten what I was supposed to write about.
Yeah,
even if I was supposed to write about the Triumph nib, I still would forget because I'm too busy, drooling over this nib, the way the nib looks. So,
yeah, that was a brand you never brought up when you were listing favorite brands. Was Schaefer.
Schaefer pens when they have a flexible nib, you can't beat it. They made their flexible nibs were so amazingly good and very sturdy that they're really great. They're absolutely great, but they're so rare. That was not their deal. And but I do like using Schaefer Feather Touch nibs. They're they were their thin, kind of cheaper pen that they made, not lifetime guarantee, and those nibs are so amazingly smooth. And the Waverly nib, you know what that is, Wasky?
That's the one for going through carbon copies, right?
Well, it's also slightly curved up at the end. The very tip is curved up like a little ski jump, and it's meant to do that, so you can make those go through blueprints and stuff. But it also was advertised to turn upside down and write thinner on one side. It was built for that, where you can do that with any pen, but that pen was designed specifically for that. And the Waverly upturned nib allows people that maybe write more vertically, because the nib again is bent a little bit at the end so that it hits the paper right. And it also, if anyone's a lefty, I will hand them a Schaefer pen always first. I'll say, write with this, because I know that Waverly tip will work well if you're right with a hook. If when you're a lefty, you're either a hooker or a pusher. So you either do this or you're a hooker or a pusher.
I'll have to ask. Chris Sains is a fountain pen person. She just had broke something in her right wrist, so she's been writing with her left hand. I have to ask her that.
Well, it's. I wish I had the ability to write with both hands. It would come in handy, but I don't have that ability.
Well, Glenn, you must have met Glenn Kelly, because he says you introduced him to the Skyline.
Oh, Glenn Kelly, you're the. No, I'm thinking of someone whose first name was Kelly, I think. Are you the architect? Did I sell you actual pens? Glenn Kelly?
We'll see if he responds.
I don't think he is, because I don't think that was, I think Kelly was the first name of the person that he taught an architecture class, drawing for architects, and he loves skylines.
Okay.
But so it might have been through a YouTube channel, or if I met him in person, it could have been at a pen show.
Yeah, and I'm sure at a pen show you meet so many people, they all run together.
Skylines, they made so many of them that a lot of pen collectors didn't bother with them, because there were so many and they were kind of common, and they didn't really make fancy versions of them like they did with other pens. So they were sort of ignored by the pen collecting community, and they still to a degree are. But God, their nibs are great. They are so sturdy.
I have one that you sent to me that I enjoy. Glenn Kelly says that you've never met. He says it through the channel that he saw it.
Okay.
So it must be one of your viewers.
One of my viewers. Okay. Well, I'm hoping we'll have some cross-pollination through. I know that Hemingway Jones interviewed me, and I thought I was going to get all sorts of people from his channel, but I think mainly his followers are new modern pen people, not vintage pen people. And I think that the getting people to go to get their feet wet in the shallow end of the vintage pen pool is asking a lot. And but I swear these nibs in these old pens are so much better than the new ones.
Yeah, I remember when I dipped my toes into vintage, I was kind of scared at first. I found one that worked, and then just by chance, Chris Rapp 52 thought I needed to try some vintage pens, so he sent me, what was it, an Esterbrook and a Waterman 52.
Yeah.
And pretty much I've been doing vintage ever since.
Yeah.
I have my modern pens, but
yeah. No, and I love, there are some very, very nice modern pens out there, but most of the time it seems like everyone has to get the nib tuned somehow. The nib isn't right. And I don't know if the nib is made badly or if it's just too boring.
yeah.
They make them, they're very standardized. One company makes the same nib for many, one nib making company makes the nibs for many pen manufacturers. So you're not going to see a lot of variety back out there.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's part of why I quit buying modern ones so much, is I just got bored because they're all Yovo nibs.
yeah. Now
Well, here,
they can have really fun designs. There was one pen that I wish I had bought at the Philadelphia Pen Show one year, and it was 3D printed, I think. It was completely clear lucite, and the inside had the empty part where the ink would go was all made all sorts of funny shapes. It almost looked like a chemistry set with spirals of stuff, and then a big ball, and then a rod, and then another ball, and it would all be filled up with that ink.
mm-hmm.
And it would have looked so cool until it got dirty, and of course you could never clean it.
Yeah, I had my eye on maybe not that one, but one like that, and I just thought, oh, but how do I clean it? And
Yeah. And the other thing with a pen like that is essentially one piece of plastic that contains ink, your hand is going to heat up, and the pen will then heat up, and the ink will start to expand and then spill all over your drawing, or it'll has to go somewhere.
yeah.
Unless you keep stopping and holding the pen right side up, with the point up, so the hot air can get out and cool it, but it's just going to boil over,
Right.
like a pot on the stove. So, but I thought that was a really cool looking pen. And, but I could see that it would probably be impossible to clean if it got dirty, and it would leak. So you don't want a leaky pen.
Right.
I don't care about a dirty pen, but I don't want a leaky one.
Well, I've got I'm going to mispronounce this one too. Reza Mobasheri wants to know if you have a cluttered workspace, and then says, if so, does it indicate a clear mind?
My mind is about as dirty as it can get. But let me just show you what I'll give you a little tour of, if I can get out of here without killing myself. Right in front of me, as I have to climb over, is this huge bag of cat food. So here's where I eat breakfast and dinner. This is a cabinet full of pens. That's full of pens. There's my couch. You let me know when you've seen enough.
Oh, they've got a laughing emoji up.
This cabinet here, full of pens and parts. Let's pretend I wanted to make some artwork in my studio. Okay, let me know. Where am I going to make it? Maybe I can make it right there on the floor. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to talking about my mind. It's not very clear. This is a new lamp I made, Wasky.
Okay.
It was a floor lamp I found on the street, and then I took diplomas. This is for Palmer writing, and another diploma for calligraphy, and I made this lamp for the pen show, and that was kind of fun. And this lamp here, this was just a cylindrical plastic globe that's about 5 feet tall, and these are vellum diplomas, so actual sheepskin. And it just, in the morning when that's the only light that's on, it's like I'm sitting around a campfire. It's very warm and it just makes me smile. So I'm going to turn the camera so we could see my face again, so I can figure out how to do that.
Well, Kay Rye says that they feel much better about their crafting space right now.
Oh, good.
And Teresa Harris is laughing.
Well, I had a pen visitor from California come today, and he's going to come back with his wife on Wednesday to see me, and we're going to have dinner together. And I said to him, do you think she would want to stay longer than a half an hour? And she said, no, my wife doesn't like claustrophobic spaces. So there are people that come in here and they don't start hyperventilating, but they come close. And there's other people that come in here and they say, my God, this is just amazing. I just want to, can I take pictures? I just want to stay here, because they just are amazed at the debris field or whatever it is I've got.
Yeah, I suppose
anyway,
it kind of depends on how you work. Some people, artists like to have everything very neat and organized, where, this is where my pastels are. Others, it's just kind of, oh, here's all my inspiration all around me. And
I try every once in a while to clean a desk completely so that I can do a drawing without any bumping my hand into anything. Mm-hmm. And within a good 10 minutes, I've got rulers and a book I'm trying to find an image up from. And I'm back, in this nightmare of a place and bumping my hand into things. It just doesn't, things can't. I have ODD, obsessive disorder. I need it to be disordered.
Yeah. None
of this order business. I want chaos. I need that around me, I think. Yeah. At least that's what I'm going to go with.
That works.
I could say I'm just lazy. That's another way to do it.
That works too. No, I sometimes it'll get disordered in here, but it bothers me when it's disordered. Last summer I was working on a history and I had note cards everywhere around the living room.
Yeah.
And then this teacher at school had gotten a drone that's supposed to be flown indoors. So I thought, I'm going to try that out at home.
Yes.
And the index cards.
Yeah, they reordered themselves for you.
So that was an afternoon of work.
Yes. What you do next time, Wasky, take a picture before you do anything. When you get them all perfect, take a picture. So just in case, something, the window breaks and a windstorm comes up or something, you can put them back together.
Well, now I have them. I got smarter. Now I just have out the handful I'm working on right now, and the rest stay in the box.
Okay, that
makes sense. The hard way.
So who else added a question here?
Let's see. Robin Allen just says, I organize when I need to find storage for more stuff. K-Rye, chaos is very inspiring.
Okay.
The Goat Girl CR says, as long as you're content, forget what others say. That's true.
That is true. I have a colleague in my building who does absolutely beautiful paintings. And when he likes painting outdoors, and he often paints sort of the industrial wasteland that we live in our part of Somerville. It's a little, things are always under construction, and there's always police barricades and traffic cones everywhere, and a bulldozer digging up the street. And but when he can't do that, he makes a little still life in his house. But he often will just set up his painting, his easel, in front of the kitchen sink and do a beautiful painting of the dirty dishes in the sink. And I would much rather paint my dirty dishes than clean them.
Yeah. I have a dishwasher.
Yeah, I had one that no longer works, but anyway. Any other questions that we've got?
Just one question we find it here. Dan Cruz is wondering where you find the old ledger paper.
Well, this is something I've been collecting. I love going to antique bookshops. Oh, that's one thing that I thought we could talk a little bit about, Wasky. I love old bookstores, secondhand bookstores, because of the chaos thing. When they're often organized chaotically. They have most of things where you want them, where they should be. History's in that aisle, art is in this aisle, but they always are buying boxes of books new from people, and they haven't put them in the shelves again. So everything's all sort of mixed up, and it's really just the chance discovery when you're looking at a pile of art books to find a book about, astronomy, and you look through that a little bit, and you get interested by accident in astronomy, and you don't do anything by accident in a modern bookshop. Everything is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
and the old ones are fun. So vintage bookstores is where I used to find them, or flea markets. Usually you can get them pretty cheap. Occasionally they can be expensive, but there was one stack of books I got somewhere, maybe at a flea market, and it was the Salem Overseers of the Poor. And it was from 1890s or so, and they were maybe 10 books. And I just completely tore them apart and used them as, paper to test pens out in. But it was very sad. It was the Salem copy. They also made a duplicate copy that they sent to another town, saying they filled in the blanks. Blank, and you'd fill in the name, and 3 children from Boston have been living in Salem in the poorhouse for the last 2 weeks. You owe us 8 cents for the food, or whatever the cost of keeping those people alive in Salem. Boston was being charged for it. I would imagine that maybe some of these poor people that lived in Salem were actually famous now, or got famous, and here that record is now in the trash somewhere because I didn't bother to check. But
interesting. Actually, a fun fact, one of the early governors of North Dakota grew up, I'm not sure where, but somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And his parents were killed. So there was nobody to take care of him because he was like 6.
Yeah.
Must have been no family around. So he was sent on a train out to a farm in North Dakota where this
Oh, wow.
family took him in Castleton. And, he went on to become one of the governors of North Dakota.
Poor rags to riches.
Yeah.
And that was in those days, you could put a stamp, you could mail children through the postal service. You wouldn't put a stamp on them, but you would pay the postal service to ship a child.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the family probably adopted him thinking, well, here's an extra laborer for the farm.
Yeah. And cheaper than hiring the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have to pay him anything.
Right?
We just have to wake him up and get him to work. What did Teresa say?
She wants to know if you've met Joshua Lax. She thinks the three of us could have a great discussion.
I have not met him, though I have watched some of his things. In fact, I might have met him at one point at one of the pen shows, maybe in Philly. I know that he is a, quote, nib grinder, and I have an automatic aversion to grinding any nibs, especially if they're vintage, because you can't ungrind them.
Right.
Take anything away, it's gone. Now, if you're taking a modern nib and you're tuning it to be a particular kind of nib, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But if it's a vintage nib, I'd rather just say, well, if you don't like this nib, I've got a different nib, buy this one. Don't have it ground. Oftentimes, what many people do with a pen that's really, really, really fine, like a needle fineness, it'll appear scratchy to some people, and they'll want to get that smoothed out. Well, it's supposed to be scratchy. That's why it's so fine. Yeah. And if you want to make it broader, get a broader nib, because someone wants that scratchy one, and they're not going to be able to get it back if you wreck it. So, but if Lax only adjusts modern nibs, I'll have a great time with them. and Wasky, you'd have a great time with him too, I bet. But
I've always been afraid of grinding. I have one vintage Kaveco that is super scratchy, but it's not because it's fine. I think it's because somebody tried grinding on it.
Yeah.
And they just wrecked the nib on what's otherwise a wonderful pen.
Well, there are ways to damage a nib by accident. A pen could drop on the floor. A chip of iridium can come off. And if a pen is damaged, or if an iridium is chipped and it's not completely gone, but it's chipped, I think that's fine to smooth it out and to make it work. Mm-hmm. But if you're just taking a fine nib and making it broader by grinding it or smoothing it or doing whatever,
right,
that's a no-no. And there are some nibs that are stub nibs that are used for calligraphy. The edge, the corner, is like a right angle, and you want it a right angle. You don't want it to have a little rounded end to it, because it'll make the edge of your letters fuzzy. It won't be exact and crisp. So right. There are some things that you just have to hold the pen differently to use it correctly to make a shape that you want. Yes, if you just want a big fat broad pen to sign your signature and you want to smooth it out, that's fine, I guess. But it's better to just buy a nib that already does that, without having to change a perfectly good nib that you don't. You just find a different nib.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, I agree with that, because nobody's making vintage pens anymore.
No. That time machine, until they perfect that time machine, we're stuck with just the limited number we've got.
I'll get my physics class working on it.
Yeah, you do that. I have to be in the gallery in 10 minutes here. So
Okay, so I better
I
let
don't have to leave yet, but if anyone has any final questions for us, or if you have a question for me, Wasky, that you want to ask publicly, I'm here to answer.
I can't think of anything, but Dan Cruz wants to know if Esterbrook has a good flex nib.
They made a flex nib, and it's very rare. There was one on eBay, I think, for $60 for just the nib. I have one or two that I'm going to try to find them. A woman brought an Esterbrook pen for me to repair at the pen show. The nib was very badly bent, and I did the best I could. And she's going to come by and pick it up. And I'll let her. She wants a flexible nib. I'm not going to sell her the one I have, but I'll say this is how they work. And if you want to buy one of these, you'll at least know how they work. Esterbrook nibs, they made many types. The 1000 series are generally pretty crappy. You're right on to steel, and it's not tipped with anything. The 2000 ones are better. The 8000 and 9000 ones are really good. They have, I don't know if it's iridium, but it's some sort of tipping material that's actually very good. The ones that don't have tipping will wear out. If you have a gold nib that's missing its iridium and you make it smooth, it'll write perfectly fine for a while. And then it'll start wearing down and becoming sharp. And if you have a broken nib, Wasky, try it out. They can work.
Okay.
They might feel very smooth. In fact, they will feel smoother than writing with one with iridium. But I find them very unsatisfying. I need that little bite.
Yeah.
I need that. It's like I need the lumps in my potatoes.
Yeah, I don't like the really smooth pens. I don't want them scratchy, but I want to feel the paper.
It helps you move the pen around. It's like having a keel on a sailboat. It'll help you drive in the direction you're pointing the bow to. If you pull the keel up, it'll just side slip, and that's what a pen with that is too smooth is like for me. They're very unsatisfying, and they make me. I'm remembering one of your comments, Wasky, on your channel after you first met me, and I think actually before we met, I gave you pens, and there was a set of pens, a set of my scribbles, and then next to what you were doing, and one of your commenters seeing Mr. Gustafson's scribbles make me lose the will to live, and it just I thought that was so funny, and I can.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, any last question? Because I do have to go in a minute.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat, and we'll have to email each other about a good time for me to be on your channel. And
okay, that'd be great.
And thank you for this.
And thank you. I really enjoy this. You're always, you make it easy to talk to. I don't feel I'm not under the hot light, being interrogated by, someone else just asked something. What was that?
Oh, he was asking what I call the style of handwriting I write with. I've just kind of picked it up. I don't know. In 7th grade, my English teacher threatened me that I'd have to stay after school if I didn't fix my handwriting.
Your handwriting has an honesty to it. We'll put it that. How's that?
There we go.
Very honest. I think that I could maybe try to suggest that you could make a capital letter a little bit differently, but that would be, I like that your handwriting the way it is. It's exactly, it's the WASCI style.
Yep.
And it's a heck of a lot easier to read than my handwriting. I mean, not my calligraphy, but just my regular handwriting is just awful. I usually just print
Oh, okay.
making notes, but if I actually write with longhand, it's less easy to read. So, okay, Mr. Squirrel, thank you for me being on your channel, and for those people that have never watched me, do watch me, and I'll probably tomorrow morning come up with my recap of what we talked about today, maybe a little bit, or talk about something that I forgot to say. But anyway, we'll see you there.
All right, and I'll be back to school.
And I'll try to figure out why my iPad didn't work, because it would have been much easier for me to see what's going on.
Yeah, because I think we've done this on your iPad before. So.
We may have. I don't remember, but it seemed to want me to sign up, use Chrome rather than Safari.
Mm-hmm.
So I should probably download Chrome on my iPad to use that as my default. So that might be the problem, why it didn't work.
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
On Chrome, but better let you go.
But this worked okay. I mean,
yeah,
this worked fine. So it just was hard for me to read the questions. But as long as you were there to tell me what the questions were, that was fine.
Okay.
Okay. I guess bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
And thank you, everyone, for being here. And thank you to Pier for appearing. And in 2 weeks, I'll be talking to cowboy poet Carson Hauser. I think that'll be November 9th. So we'll see what a poet does for creativity. Okay. And find out if he uses fountain pens. So.
Okay. Well,
everybody, we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.